I mean, I saw her take on one of the biggest bullies in this industry that everybody feared.
Ryan Reynolds is absolutely losing it after Blake Lively's latest scandal exploded, and this time it's way too serious to brush under the rug.
And I think it just shows the hypocrisy of Blake Lively.
Blake Lively just exposed her so-called activism as nothing more than a desperate clout-chasing act, flaunting herself in Balenciaga. Yes, after all the child exploitation outrage. Once again, Hollywood proves it has zero shame. Blake just ripped her own mask off, and it all started with a little memory bomb Salma Hayek casually dropped at Variety's Power of Women luncheon. You know, just another sunny day, until Salma decided to mention her good friend Blake and how Blake once took on the biggest bully in Hollywood.
Yeah, she said, I watched her take on the biggest bully in the industry.
The whole room gasped. Headlines exploded. Salma didn't dare name names, but come on, we all knew exactly who she was talking about. Harvey Weinstein. Shocker, right? But here's where the real tea starts spilling. Blake Lively, the supposed fearless warrior who stood up to Weinstein, yeah, she somehow forgot to actually ever say a word about him publicly.
I'm assuming that's Harvey Weinstein. I don't know who else it would be.
Oh, and don't forget Blake's publicist, Leslie Sloan, the woman she trusted to manage her pristine image. Yeah, turns out her company was financially backed by none other than Harvey Weinstein himself. You seriously cannot make this up.
Funny enough, you know, Blake Lively's publicist Leslie Sloan was sponsored. Her company was financially backed by Harvey Weinstein.
While other actresses were getting blacklisted, dragged through the mud, and destroyed for speaking out, Blake was out there cheesing on red carpets, baking cookies for Ryan Reynolds, playing the perfect housewife act. 100 women came forward accusing Weinstein of harassment and worse, 100. And Blake? She stayed quieter than a mouse in church. But sure, she's the hero now. She stood up to Harvey so secretly that nobody even heard about it until Salma casually dropped it 7 years later like it was a party favor she forgot to hand out.
What a good friend she is. And then she said something really interesting.
I am here to talk about Blake Lively. So much courage. I mean, I saw her take on one of the biggest bullies in this industry that everybody feared.
And just when you thought the hypocrisy couldn't get any thicker, oh, buckle up it does. Same luncheon. Blake, in all her diva glory, couldn't resist showing her true colors. A poor reporter, probably an intern trying to survive the day, innocently asked Blake what her go-to power outfit is. Seems fair, right? Especially for someone whose whole claim to fame is, well, her clothes, not exactly her Oscar-worthy acting chops.
But was that Blake Lively was asked by a reporter what her go-to power outfit is. And she snapped at the reporter asking her or him, I don't know, I've actually never found that clip.
But Blake wasn't having it. She shoots back, smirking, "Would you ask a man that? Oh, please." She dusted off the crusty old sexism defense like she invented feminism 5 minutes ago.
And she snapped back and said, would you ask a man about that? Have we heard it before? Yes, we have.
God forbid anyone mentions that her biggest contributions to culture involve posing in glittery dresses and writing quirky Instagram captions. Even Access Hollywood, yes, Access Hollywood of all places, called her out for being unreasonable. If Access Hollywood thinks you're annoying, congratulations, you've truly made it.
Yeah, as you know, she asked me, she did the same thing to me. But anyways, I love that Access Hollywood actually talked about it here and said, you know, that's just unreasonable of her. They were criticizing her for it, which I was like, oh.
And seriously, what were they supposed to ask her about? Her acting method for The Shallows? Please. No one was dying to hear her deep artistic thoughts. People remember Blake's outfits, not her performances.
It's funny how celebrities keep complaining about reporters and their questions and that they don't like the questions.
Her fashion sense has always gotten her more attention than her acting. She's basically a Pinterest board in human form. So yes, sweetheart, when your brand is dresses and poses, don't act all shocked when people ask about your outfits.
And she could have been like, okay, well, this is...
Like, you have to remember how you represent yourself. So sometimes she's very heavy on fashion, so that's what people will think about. Even more than her roles. If you think about it, what's the last role she's been in?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about your fashion. All right.
And what's hilarious is how she preaches about empowering women. Unless you're a woman working as a reporter, then you're just a peasant to be humiliated if you ask the wrong question. Empowerment, but only when it's convenient.
She seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean.
The irony is almost painful. Blake, who can't handle a basic outfit question without acting like she's marching in a feminist revolution, wants you to believe she's some kind of Hollywood revolutionary. Please.
She seems like a bully. She was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat.
Hollywood loves wrapping privilege in woke packaging and selling it to us. Scratch the surface, and all you get is another celebrity who only speaks when it's profitable. If calling out Weinstein had been trendy back then, Blake would have been leading the charge, but it wasn't. It was risky. So she stayed silent, smiled for the cameras, and built her fake fairy tale life. Then Balenciaga decided to show the world just how sick it could really get.
So fast forward to 2022. There's a big scandal. Balenciaga is promoting this horrific marketing campaign that everyone is like, what the F are they thinking?
In 2022, Balenciaga dropped an ad campaign featuring children holding teddy bears dressed in BDSM gear. And if that wasn't disturbing enough, they even snuck Supreme Court documents about child abuse into the background. Literal madness disguised as fashion.
It was with children, with teddy bears, it was just like outrageous.
Normal people were horrified. The internet exploded. Parents, activists, even some celebs spoke out. Shockingly, even Kim Kardashian mumbled something about it. If Kim Kardashian manages to say, hey, this is gross, you know it's bad.
It was awful. Some celebrities came out and talked about it. One of them was Kim Kardashian, and she said that, as a mother of 4, I've been shaken by the disturbing images. It's the opening that I think is most revealing. I've been quiet for the past few days.
And then there was Blake, Ms. Protect the Children herself. Surely she would have something to say, right? Wrong? Dead? Silence?
Of course, Blake Lively didn't come out and say anything, even though she has proclaimed how important it is to protect children. But as the person who sent this to me reminded me of, Salma Hayek's husband is Francois-Henri Pinault. He is one of the richest men in the world.
Not a post, not a peep, no crying selfies. The child advocate turned into Casper the Friendly Ghost real quick when it meant risking her marketability. And let's be real, it's not like she didn't know. Hollywood was buzzing. But when your besties are married to billionaires who own Balenciaga, yeah, protecting kids suddenly doesn't sound as glamorous as jet-setting on private planes.
At this event, Blake Lively was talking about children and the importance of protecting children against all these horrible things that can happen to children.
But wait, it gets even juicier. After all that backlash, after knowing full well the horrors tied to that brand, Blake couldn't resist. She couldn't stay away.
I made the allegation, you can't fight me back or sue me back. I mean, it seems like that's what she's implying.
Fast forward to 2024, Super Bowl, America's biggest stage, and there she is, Blake Lively, wearing a screaming red Balenciaga tracksuit like it's Paris Fashion Week, smiling, strutting, next to Taylor Swift, soaking up every camera flash. No shame.
Yes, of course, Blake Lively didn't stand up against this when it happened. But what she did do was, about a year later, she was wearing Balenciaga with Taylor Swift. I think it was at the Super Bowl, actually.
This wasn't an accident. This was calculated. That tracksuit screamed Balenciaga to anyone with eyes, because when the spotlight calls, suddenly child exploitation scandals just don't matter anymore.
And showing off this tracksuit, this very red tracksuit that she knew she was going to get photographed in. And I think it just shows the hypocrisy of Blake Lively.
And let's be real, after the Balenciaga scandal, the brand's value tanked 23%, millions lost, stockholders panicking. But Blake, she didn't care. The public moved on to the next scandal, and she put on her designer costume and danced back into the spotlight.
And Blake Lively got an award that was handed to her from Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek and Blake Lively have been friends for a long time. They were in the movie Savages together.
And it's not just Blake. Let's talk about Salma Hayek, Ms. Protect the Children herself. After Balenciaga's nightmare? Silence. Absolute deafening silence. Her husband's $35 billion empire? Thriving.
This person is not an honest broker. I believe her less than ever. I actually disbelieve her fully now.
This is why Hollywood activism is a complete joke. They scream when it's safe. They hide when it's inconvenient. Blake Lively isn't a child advocate. She's a brand manager, and the brand is herself.
They weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle, but guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
All Blake cares about is staying in the inner circle, the invites, the free clothes, the Instagram likes. If it means wearing a blood-red tracksuit from a scandal-ridden brand, so be it.
So she's a serial fraudster. That's called fraud.
While Blake was busy pretending child exploitation was no big deal, guess who jumped in trying to fix things? Oh yes, Ryan Reynolds.
Talking about charity, Ryan Reynolds is at it again. He is trying to clean up his image with showing the world how much good he's doing.
Ryan's brilliant plan, a charity t-shirt campaign. Because nothing says we take child exploitation seriously like slapping a slogan on a cotton tee.
Today he is showing off a t-shirt saying finish it, which I think would be a great t-shirt for what he and Blake Lively started.
Ryan even posted photos of himself wearing the shirt, forcing the fakest smile you've ever seen, and thought people would buy it. Spoiler, they didn't.
I don't think it's a good idea for Ryan Reynolds to put his face or name on anything right now. I don't think this is going to help any cancer research in Canada. Anyways, I was just looking at the photos of him. He looks a little forced smile, I think.
The public roasted him alive, absolutely shredded him. So what did Ryan do? Did he face it? Apologize? Nope. He just shut off the comments section.
She knew she was going to get photographed in. And I think it just shows the hypocrisy of Blake Lively and other celebrities that are pretending to do so much good in the world.
And not before filtering exactly 10, yes, 10, sweet rainbow-filled comments through. 10 comments on a post that should have been flooded with real outrage.
Yeah, he got 10 comments on this post. I can see, and they're all like really good and hearts and celebration, and he's amazing, blah, blah, blah. So those are his 10 friends, I'm assuming.
Ryan's whole career strategy now? Distract, distract, distract. Another gin ad here, a soccer joke there, but people are catching on. The ship is sinking.
And Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass.
Meanwhile, Hollywood pretends everything's fine. Viola Davis booted a reporter for daring to ask about Disney's diversity scandal. Hollywood screams about free speech until someone actually uses it.
And Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass.
And here we are watching the painful fall of Hollywood's perfect couple. Blake's quirky charm, gone. Ryan's smirk and wink act, tired. The mask is slipping.
A woman who is using toxic feminism to get what she wants.
And Ryan, poor Ryan, can't save it with another filtered Instagram post. It's all falling apart.
She seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean.
Because when you hold Blake's so-called bravery under the light, it disintegrates. She wasn't brave. She was calculatedly silent. And Ryan? He chose slogans over substance. And Ryan, oh Ryan, he chose cheap marketing campaigns and filtered comments over actually taking a real stand. Because God forbid either of them risk their cozy Hollywood life. Hollywood isn't about truth, it's about image. And Blake and Ryan, they used to be the golden couple. Now, they're just another cautionary tale about what happens when you believe your own PR. The truth is, Blake and Ryan do care, but not about you, not about the kids, not about justice. They care about themselves, about looking good, about staying relevant, about protecting that polished, marketable brand they've spent years crafting. Protecting children, free speech, accountability. Oh, those are just buzzwords for speeches, magazine interviews, and Instagram captions. Words that sound good. Until the cameras turn off and the real world comes calling. Because when it mattered, when the industry showed its ugliest face, when Balenciaga paraded child exploitation in front of the world, Blake didn't mutter a word. Ryan didn't stand tall. They protected their paychecks. They put on fake smiles. They posted filtered photos. They wore blood-red Balenciaga tracksuits to the biggest event of the year and thought nobody would notice. They shut down comment sections when the truth started bleeding through their polished veneers. And now we're watching the once perfect Hollywood fairy tale crumble into dust. The sparkle? Gone. The magic? Dead. The carefully constructed brand of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds is crumbling. Not with a bang, but with 1,000 tiny cracks that no amount of Instagram edits or gin commercials can patch up. Ryan's jokes aren't funny anymore when you realize they're just distractions from a wife neck-deep in hypocrisy. Blake's fake empowerment speeches ring hollow when you remember the blood-red tracksuit she paraded around in, like a neon billboard screaming, "I don't actually care." And the saddest part? They probably still think we're buying it. They probably think another cute family photo or another charity collab will wipe all of this away. Another quirky tweet, another relatable red carpet moment. But the veil's lifted. The fairy tale is over. Blake and Ryan aren't heroes. They're not quirky underdogs or feminist icons or industry revolutionaries. They're just another Hollywood couple who sold an image and abandoned every so-called value the second it became inconvenient. Blake once built a brand on being the sweetheart who cared about everyone. Ryan built his brand as the charming guy next door with a heart of gold. Together, they sold us the fantasy. But now we see the truth. Behind the Instagram perfect lives and award speeches are two people who cared about one thing and one thing only, themselves. And if you still had any doubt, just look at what they didn't say, look at how they didn't act. No amount of charity teas, no amount of Balenciaga discounts, no amount of carefully worded PR statements can erase the fact that when Hollywood needed people with real courage, Blake and Ryan chose silence. Silence that was louder than any speech they've ever given. Because in the end, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't the fairy tale couple Hollywood sold us. They're just another example of what happens when you prioritize fame over principles. And trust me, Hollywood's full of them. If you love seeing the fake fairy tales of Hollywood crash and burn, buckle up. We're just getting started. We're just getting started.